All right, I've been looking to read this book for a long time. It got delayed from all the shipping stuff due to distributors at my local comic shop, which really annoyed me. But I finally got it. I read it in one day. Very excited about this. This is Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection Lifetheft by David Michelinie, who wrote most of it, and J.M. DeMatteis, who also wrote some of it. Mark Bagley did the bulk of the art in here. It's volume 26 of Amazing Spider-Man, 93 and 94. Covers issues 381 to 393, annual 28, and then some crossover stuff with all the other Spider titles that were going on at the time. And then you got this ash can at the back. The ash can at the back really is just like a retelling of the origin in black and white with like small panels. So it's cute, but not a. It's more of an extra than an actual piece of stuff here. All right, this takes place directly after Maximum Carnage. Maximum Carnage ended last issue. And then Spider-Man goes back and fights the Hulk. Spider-Man's fought the Hulk a couple of times. This one was a sort of different twist on things, as we're in the middle of Peter David's Hulk run, where the Hulk kind of has his wits about him. And so he is the big green monster, but he still is kind of Bruce Banner over the course of this. And he's in New York. Doc Samson is going to some summit where it's testing out some weird gamma radiation thing. And the Hulk's like, that's not a good idea. And sure enough, it's not a good idea. And Doc Samson gets all hulked out with like weird green gamma stuff where he just loses his mind, becomes a complete savage. Now, this is Mark Bagley's art, and he did a lot of Spider-Man stuff for a long time. He's pretty definitive if you look at his like Ultimate Spider-Man and all that. Very late 90s, early 2000s. But still maintains that like kind of classic panel layout, which I like about Mark Bagley. I think his Spider-Man looks very fluid and very agile, and his muscular villains look pretty good too. I really like his art all the way around. Now there is a weird background thing going on with Aunt May, and then Peter's parents have returned from the dead from Russia. That happened prior to Maximum Carnage, so that epic collection where that actually happens, I don't think has been released yet. But that happened a number of issues ago, but she's starting to think there's something wrong with them. And there's about 2 or 3 pages of this little subplot per issue going on while Spider-Man fights the Hulk and this other monster, Doc Samson. And then suddenly at the end of it, the Hulk gets that whole rage thing, and Doc Samson, it moves out of Doc Samson's body, basically. I love this cover. Just simple superheroes standing. And it just looks good. So, and I like the caption. They used to do captions on these too. That used to be so much fun. They don't do that anymore. The Incredible Hulk is teaming up with, and look at how they did the lettering. Amazing Spider-Man, like it's all messed up by the Hulk. Nope, old Greenskin's about to pound him into jelly. Now that's just fun stuff they don't do in comics anymore. I love everything about this. This is okay. So I'll tell my little personal story. I got a subscription to Amazing Spider-Man from my aunt that started with Amazing Spider-Man 375. And so Maximum Carnage was like the first big crossover I saw. 375 was my first comic book. And then, I just was waiting at the mail every month for the new version to come out as it came to my mailbox. And I was just so excited about this. I was probably like 10, 11 at the time. And just absolutely loved this stuff when it came out. This was new and fresh and rad to me. So I do not have an objective view of this whatsoever. These are the comics I care about. But I mean, it's just a knockdown, drag out fight with the Hulk. Like, what more do you want? It's fun. You just get a lot of fun. Fun. And there you go. And that happens, and then it sets up the next issue. Now, this one, Trial by Jury Part 1. When I read this originally, I didn't know who the jury was, but there was a miniseries called Venom Lethal Protector, which is going to be in the Venom Epic Collection Volume 2 or Venomnibus Volume 1 if you're looking for a way to read that. So you really should read that first before this storyline, because then you know who the jury is, and it makes a little more sense. It works fine without it. I just love Mark Bagley's art. This is what I feel like Spider-Man should look like. Always. And the jury's this group, it's like this military group that like hates Venom. And Venom is, they blame Spider-Man then for creating Venom. So that's that. MJ, look at her. She's always lounging around the house like in these little cheesecake outfits. But she's having trouble with her little soap operas. We got the Aunt May being nervous about the parents' storyline. And gosh, and Mary Jane is getting stressed out, so she's turning to smoking. Now they're very cautious. See, and this is something they did for the kiddies who are reading the magazine. You see that MJ looks very pretty here. She's gorgeous actually, but once she gets the cigarette in her mouth, she doesn't look quite as pretty, right? And that's definitely some messaging on purpose as this goes through here. So Spider-Man has to deal with this jury group. Some of the jury, they capture him. This is like a 3-issue thing, I think. Yeah. And they actually leave his mask on. Retell the origin real quick. Here's some Mary Jane moments again as she's getting her role reduced in her soap opera, and it's going to cause money problems. Again, very pretty right here. Once with the cigarette in her mouth. Nope, she looks kind of sinister. Pretty funny. So Spider-Man's all drugged up, and they are having a trial of him basically for creating Venom. And one of the jury people, who's Iron Man sort of set up, doesn't like that they're doing this to Spider-Man. And we get the background story of how Venom became Venom again, and we get a little Carnage. They're really milking the Venom and Carnage. Like these two characters were so hot at the time. Everybody wanted it, so they're milking it. It's fun. And then Spider-Man actually goes, "Oh my gosh, I am responsible for this. I'm guilty." And that's that. Back to the cool covers. They did these little corner things during this era too. Oh my gosh, I'm gushing over this. I'm sorry. The little corner things, like where it like gives you a little hint about the subplot. Been worried about Mary Jane's addiction? Read this issue. Yeah. And that's that. Spider-Man, drugged up, eventually realizes, yeah, I guess Venom is a bad guy. Now, this is a weird part to me. Mary Jane, like married to Peter Parker, goes out clubbing by herself, and then like dudes get up all frisky on her, and then she's like, "Oh, actually, I'm married." But like, why is she going out clubbing in skimpy outfits by herself? I don't know. I don't know. You know, that's an odd thing. That's not normal. But you know, at least she doesn't cheat on Peter, I guess, even though she's dancing with other dudes. Very weird. I didn't think about that when I was a kid, but I definitely am looking at that now, going, "Huh, that's kind of an odd one." The art's super consistent. Mark Bagley is fast and he's consistent, and he's got tons of action. They're going after I guess Venom together at this point, and then Peter's like, "Oh wait, I don't actually want to kill anyone." Now at the end of this, Peter brings Mary Jane to like a cancer patient to show like the end result of the smoking and all that, and he tricks her into it, which is a very weird thing also, but he's doing it because he loves her, and they wanted to hammer home the smoking bad point. So, and Mary Jane throws away her cigarettes. There you go. All right, I did not get this issue when I was a kid, and this was I'm actually surprised I saw this, but Carnage came back pretty quickly. Like I said, they always maximize the symbiote stuff during this, and we get different artists on this and some backup stories too. Now I was happy to read this because you know, Carnage went bye in Maximum Carnage, and I didn't realize that he came back this fast. But basically, he comes back. Art's not quite as fluid as Bagley's, but it's very 90s. Look at Spider-Man with the giant gun. How much more 90s can you get? But Spider-Man goes and tries to take care of him. Carnage goes back and like goes after like a guy from his youth, and he's specifically going after this guy. And the guy's really nice to Carnage, and so it's like kind of odd. And we get like Carnage's youth past where he's obviously been a psycho killer forever, and that's that. And then Spider-Man eventually stops him. Pretty simple stuff. We get a little Cloak and Dagger deal. Now, Cloak and Dagger were in Maximum Carnage, and I loved those characters and like wanted to see more of them, but really couldn't find a lot of them at the time. They were just guest stars perennially, and this kind of like gives a nice coda to that because Cloak really is in love with Dagger, and really nice character development through this little short here. Loved it. We get a villain background story. We get 2 villain background stories. Or I guess this is like a guy trying to be a hero. I don't know what it is. I don't even know who this character is. So, but we get the Rhino in this one, and the Rhino kind of gives his background story, and then his aunt disavows him even though he's trying to be helpful. Kind of odd. And we get some character designs. The new Vulture, which is coming up. And here these are not as fun as stories at this point. Once you get into Lifetheft, it gets really dark in here for the rest of the book. And the Vulture busts out of prison. There's this like character that's like she's built some sort of new ray or something like that makes people young, but he has to steal people's lives in order to do it. And the Vulture is after that. Now from here, the Vulture gets young, Peter Parker gets old in the next issue, and the parents thing is really coming to a head over the course of this. And we're learning that there's problems. And the Vulture finally ends up doing his deal here. And it's all being conscripted by the Chameleon, who apparently got Peter Parker's parents, made them from chameleoids or something like that. It kind of came out of nowhere. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's okay. And then Peter Parker's forced to stop them. And then Peter Parker gets really mad because his parents' life forms die as the Vulture kind of saps his life out. And then after this, we get a Venom backstory here. A little Venom backstory. Look at this 90s hair. Yes. Where he's like gets himself mad over Spider-Man, and this is from like 50 issues prior, basically. And another backstory, we get a little Cardiac. Now, Cardiac's been a villain that's been showing up a few times. He's a doctor who has a heart problem, and so he makes this suit to like fix that. And he goes after some bad guys with this guy Chance, who's been showing up for a little bit. These are two characters that just never really took off, but Marvel tried to push them for a little bit. And then we get into Pursuit. Now, Pursuit's one of those crossovers between all the books, so all the art gets kind of inconsistent. This is really drawn out. And Spider-Man's going after the Chameleon now for the killing of his parents. And who drew this one in here? I don't even know. Lyle. So I don't know who Lyle is. But they're trying to copy the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man look a little bit through this with these like full bleed pages and all that, which I don't like as much. Howard Mackey's all right through here. Spectacular then gets Sal Buscema doing the art here, which is pretty cool. So you can tell he's got very angular faces to his stuff. It's not as pretty as Mark Bagley in comparison, but it's very clean. And we're in the middle of the pursuits, and there's like the thing is Chameleon's coming back and pursuing Spider-Man through the course of all this too. And now they're ready for the epic showdown. Web of Spider-Man, that's right. This one's a little less clean of art through here, as you can see. And the Spider-Man eventually gets to Chameleon's little lair while he's slowly like losing his humanity and abandoning Mary Jane a little bit. And he gets in here. Chameleon's like really doing this. He's kind of crazy, trying to impress Kraven the Hunter from like beyond the grave. He pretends to be him for a little bit, and then Spider-Man kind of beats the crap out of him. And then he realizes, oh, I'm useless. I'm a nobody. I've got no face. I'm nothing. And he kind of goes crazy, and Spider-Man lets him go finally. And it turns out this was all some sort of like plot from the Green Goblin, which was Harry Osborn at this point, who's been dead for a few issues. So there's that. Then we get the final storyline in this, Shrieking. So Shriek comes back from Maximum Carnage, and we have Peter getting pissy, saying all these people always hurt my life over this nonsense all the time. We get a very gripping thing. Shriek breaks out of the hospital, and so does Carrion. And Aunt May is dealing with the like loss of those parents, of Peter's parents before. Mary Jane starts to think about smoking again, but she realizes that's bad, so she's out of it. She tries to be a good wife, and is a good wife, and then Peter kind of neglects her and is rude. Come on, Peter, stop it. But back to the Mark Bagley pretty art over the course of this. And we learn a bit about Carrion's past. Peter Parker's kind of like, he gets really emo through the course of this and just like, I'm never going to even be Peter Parker again. And then the big bomb drops where Aunt May like gets stressed and like kind of has a stroke. Now this is a homage cover to the night. Which issue was this? I think it was Spider-Man 50, which was in the aftermath tragedy. It was Spider-Man no more, and he was going to give up being Spider-Man. And now we're reversing the roles where he's just like, I'm not even going to be Peter Parker because everybody just dies around me and I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to be the Spider. And then Carrion almost kills him. When I was a kid, because I knew Carrion's touch killed anybody, but I'm like, he touched Spider-Man and he's got his hand all over his face. Like, shouldn't Spider-Man be dead? And they kind of leave him that way for a bit. And I was always confused as to why he wasn't dead. But then there's Mary Jane with Aunt May doing the wifely duties. And we get a very nice scene where this lady... You wouldn't get this in 2021. Carrion's mother's praying for her child. Very nice. And Peter Parker's really flipped out at this point. And he goes into a cocoon. I remember this. I've read this issue so many times. And then there's something developing over the course of the issues for the last couple issues. There's a Spider-Man mystery deepening, as you can see in the cover. And if you read all the issues of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man and all that, there's this guy, and he's showing up at Gwen Stacy's grave, and you can't see who he is in this issue. This is the lead into the clone saga, everybody. So this is the Spider-Man clone coming back. He starts to like hunt around Peter Parker's life because he hears Aunt May is dying. And finally, Spider-Man defeats Carrion and Shriek. And Shriek gets really weird with the whole, like, I'm his mother, like, over the course of this series. But he stops her. And that's all that matters. And this is more of the Clone Saga lead-in. And eventually, as Mary Jane goes through this, she leaves to go address her own personal problems real quick and kind of sort out her little demons, leaving Peter Parker alone. Now, the one thing about Mark Bagley is sometimes he makes Peter Parker look really old here, and he does that. And you know, they were always trying to like not euthanize. That's not the right word. Rejuvenate his youth, like, and make him look a little younger after this era. They thought he was starting to age up a little bit too much, but that's it for this. And then after that is the Clone Saga. I think this might be the last Epic Collection, unless they redo the Clone Saga in Epic Collection format. But I don't see why they would. It's readily available. So this is kind of the end of an era for Amazing Spider-Man before it goes into that really, really crazy long clone adventure where it gets kind of hairy for a bit. And this is it. This is peak Spider-Man, I think. So this is one of my favorite books. I can't be objective about it. Love Mark Bagley's art. This was my Spider-Man stuff as a kid, so it's a 10 out of 10 for me. And I hope you enjoy it too. All right, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.